Hari Om, Vedanta Vani, January 2026. The Master's voice here. I wish you all a happy new year. Time flows on irresistibly. Nobody can stop it in that eternal flow of time. It is man who superimposes divisions and names as day and night, as months and years. To the common folk, 365 such days and nights bring, according to their calendar, a new year. But in fact, to the large majority, there is no newness about it. Every year is a dragging continuity of the previous year. Every month is a shameless prototype of the sorrows and imperfections of the previous month. Every today an echo of a yesterday that has passed. To the unintelligent, thoughtless persons, there is very little of any newness in their days, months, and year roll by. On the high road of life, they constantly miss their buses. The field of time can be cultivated and brought to bear fruit and profit if we sincerely farm our own life. The seeds in the barn cannot produce at the end of a year a rich harvest unless we plow the land, sow the seed, weed it out, water the growth, protect it from dangers, and wait for the ripening. So too, the field of time cannot smile forth to provide us with our joys in life unless we cultivate it properly. Plow the time with study, sow the seeds of your own goodness in the ample field of time, water them with your devotion to the perfect. As the seeds grow, the weeds also shall strike their roots in the same field and raise their heads. Carefully remove them one by one. Uproot the evils from yourself. Protect the bosom from the grazing bulls of sensuousness and temptations, of passions and lusts, and wait till the virtues ripen and are ready for the harvest. One who is capable of thus making use of time and steps forward in his own inward growth and beauty. That one alone can wait for the new year of glorious promises, of fruitful expectations, of assured peace and guaranteed success. Through self effort, strive to create beauty in yourself when the inner equipments of experiences are consciously tuned up through study, devotion, service, and meditation. The fallow fields of time shall come to smile forth into plenty and joy around such an individual. The mission members are seekers who are consciously striving to gain self improvement and who are deliberately living every hour of their day in the awareness of the higher ideal. In all your attempts at attunement with the perfect, bring all the aspects of your personality, the physical, the mental, and the intellectual. May the coming year bring to all sincere seekers the full reward for their self controlled life of ennobling thoughts in terms of their self controlled life of ennobling thoughts in terms of their own experienced inner peace and outer achievements. Nitya Nirantara Ishvara Chintan is the method by which man's mind can get so tuned up as to yield to him at all occasions a divine joy. Chintan. Problems arise when we fail to view situations in their right perspective. Swami Chinmayananda. A human being is considered the root and crown of creation thanks to their ability to think, analyze, discriminate, and to live a cultured life. Commentary by R. Arunachalam. When we live a life of harmony in tandem with nature, there is no problem either for us or to the people around us. Animals do not have intellect, they live life according to their impulse, but nature has its own checks and balances to keep them in harmony. It is only in the case of humans there is choice either to live a life in accordance with dharma or otherwise. There is a choice. Given the choice, how we act depends on our value system, upbringing, environment, and most importantly, our sanskara. This is where the role of religion comes in, helping us make the right choices. A life lived on the foundations of religious life is a life in harmony with nature. In such a life, there is no problem. Problems arise when we make the wrong choices, driven by short term outlook, temptations, etc. Let us analyze every experience. In each experience, there is an experiencer, experienced, and experiencing. And relationship which is called experiencing. Experiencer experiences and experience through their equipments, which is predominantly body, mind, or intellect. Stimuli from an object reaches the experiencer who can choose to either respond or ignore. How we respond depends on our past experiences, ability, etc. Let us assume we respond to a stimuli. A response is dependent on our ability, preparation, etc. This is where our emotional stability, intellectual acumen comes into play. For a well trained person, even a crisis is a situation, whereas for a ill trained person, situation becomes a crisis. In short, there is actually nothing called a problem or crisis. We view and convert a situation into a crisis either by our ability or inability. When we view things in the right perspective, there is no problem. This brings us to the question as to what is the right perspective. In Gita, it is said that he sees who sees. What do we mean by this? Pujya Gurudev says that between the objective and subjective mind. There is a huge split due to egocentric selfish desires. Greater the desires, greater is the gap. We end up having a split personality. It is only due to selfless, dedicated work undertaken in a yajna spirit that there is integration of objective and subjective mind. For a person who is integrated, they think, talk, and act in unison. For such an integrated person, he or she is able to see things clearly as they are without coloring, and there is no problem. Till such time we clean our spectacle, we will keep blaming the external world. The moment our spectacle is cleaned, everything is crystal clear, there is no problem. In our immaturity, we blame the world for our own problems. The day we realize uh, for such we realize the day we realize that I am the problem, our spiritual life starts. Using variety of techniques depending on our situation and Guru's grace, we get the appropriate teaching. Pujya Gurudev says that for such an integrated person, problems are like chutney for idli. Life itself becomes a sport, a game. The fun is in running the race well and not just the trophy. Then, without biases, we are able to see things as they are. This is right seeing, right vision, right perspective. Such a person alone really sees. Elizabeth Blackwell was a pioneering physician and social reformer who broke gender barriers in medicine and advanced public health and women's education. She was the first woman to receive a medical degree from a US medical school and first licensed female physician in the United States. Her persistence in the face of systematic barriers in advancing interests of women in medicine. She aligned personal ambition with social goal. She founded nursing and medical training programs for women, built institutional structures that will outlast her. She built alliances and durable platforms that outlived her, demonstrated competence and expertise through clinical work and teaching. She expanded expectations for what women could study and practice. She faced intense opposition When applying to medical schools, she earned her MD from Geneva Medical College in New York. After a very difficult process, she advocated for vaccination, sanitation, and preventive care. Her success opened paths for generations of women in medicine, nursing, and health professions. The lessons we can learn from her life include: turn barriers into stepping stones, align career with a mission, build durable platforms, demonstrate competence to change perception, mentor and expand access. The witness attitude in meditation. Swami Chinmayananda. When the mind drops its perceptions of self objects and stops identification with its thought dances. At that stage in meditation, the mind is really no mind. When thoughts rush out in their mad fury to hug objects of pleasure, they are called extrovert thoughts. And to quieten these is the sacred function of the path of meditation. When these outgoing thoughts are eliminated, the resulting condition of the mind is known as the no thought state of highest meditation. Thoughts gush in to flood our bosom with angry bursts of self ruinous compulsions, mainly from two sources, the past and the future. Some thoughts stem from the past, dragging along with them the memories of the good and bad deeds done in the days gone by. These confuse the individual with their regrets and sorrows, joys and pleasures from the stinking tombs of the past, forcing them to relive the dead past right in the fragrant moments of the present. We are often flown upon the wings of our mind's fancy and imagination to a de- world of dreams where we are made to shudder at the future possibilities of failures, tremble in hopes of successes, and swoon in the expectation of total losses or large profits. The past is made up of dead moments, and to unearth the buried moments is to live with the dead. We do so when we waste our energies in unproductive and wasteful regrets over things we have already done. The more we remember them, the more those very vasanas get deeply fixed in our personality structure. When we are not engaging ourselves with the negative preoccupations of entertaining the regrets of the past, we are wandering in the fairy castles of our fancied future, peopled with ugly fears, horrid dreams, unnerving hopes, and perhaps thousands of impossible expectations. In short, when our minds are not rattled by the perceptions of objects, let us not thereby conclude that we have quietened our thoughts. Mind, then it is not engaged in the worldly objects that are right in front of it, can choose its own private fields of agitations by dragging up the buried corpuses of a deceased past or by bringing up vivid throbbing pictures of a tragic hopelessness as the sure possibility of the immediate future. In either case, the mind of the individual at meditation can get sadly disturbed. Therefore, the rishis advise us moment to moment engage the outgoing mind to live in the present, reject the past completely, renounce the future totally. Then, in such a bosom, the agitated mind shall reach the state of mindlessness. This state of mind is called the no mind. The thoughts of the present moment, divorced from all relationship with the past and the future, is the absolute fullness of the infinite. Eternity is experienced at the sacred depth of the past and the future is to uh, depth of the present moment, to live the present independent of the past and the future is to experience samadhi, the revealing culmination of meditation. Seek it yourself. Nobody can give it to anyone else. Each will have to reach there all by himself, in himself, with no other vehicle than himself. The sum total of the memories that we retain of our own experiences in the past gives us a false notion of ourselves as an individual entity. This is the personality of our ego. It is this ego, a mere bundle of memories of dead moments, that is meeting the present and interpreting it constantly in terms of its deceased past. Never can the ego see the present truly as it is. Again, when the past, the ego, meets the present, it always strives to weave out of the present a future pattern, a web spun by the very fancy of the ego out of its own imagination. Hence, life is a confusing jumble of meaningless sorrows, purposeless tensions, unproductive strains, deathless joys, altogether a mad roar of an inconsistent destiny, dashing against the unyielding actualities of life. In the face of this frothy confusion, the individual feels helpless, a mere raft dancing to the whim of the surge around him. Not to identify ourselves with our rising tides of thoughts, but to remain as a witness of them all, is a definite stage in the efforts at meditation. In an atmosphere of your own unconcernedness, your thoughts will get suffocated and will die by themselves. So the rishis advised the seekers on the path of meditation. Moment to moment, dissociate yourself from continuing any thought that consciously rises in your mind. This practice sweeps the mind clean of all rising thoughts, leads you to the state of thoughtlessness, and you arrive at the Holy of Holies. This non association with the rising thought disturbances is achieved by training ourselves to remain as a witness to the flood of happenings in ourselves, to be a mere onlooker on the lusty parade of thoughts is revelry is to in revelry is to withdraw from thoughts their ability to continue their inner carnival any longer. As a witness, we remain in the present without being conditioned by the past action associations or enchanted by future expectations. This state, called the neutral condition of personality, will, in its sweep and depth, ultimately bring us to the thoughtless condition. This no mind state is the very divine substratum upon which the present exists and serves as the threshold of time where the future becomes the past. The no mind state is the experience of pure awareness with no distracting objects, the infinite self, changeless and unique. This is the goal to be reached, the truth to be realized, the experience divine to be lived in the meditator's own essential self. It is not a thing to be objectively recognized or even intellectually comprehended. This state is to be spiritually apprehended in an immediate personal inner experience. In this state, meditation gets fulfilled and the meditator becomes the one self, where the triple factors meditator, meditated, and meditation coalesce to be a vital experience of total transcendental awakening or self realization. The goal is, no doubt, extremely covetable, supremely enchanting. But to attain it, the meditator must have the necessary equipment fully prepared. In our times, we find that failures in meditation are reported more often than successes. This is because the seekers, in the spirit of our hurried times, dash into the act of meditation without first procuring the required pre flight attunement of their machines of flight. The takeoff never happens. For establishing a scheme of life most conducive to helping meditators grow into meditative attunement, the masters give advice in the most general terms. Stop remembering and craving for bygone things. Entertain no joy or sorrow as they reach you in the present. Remaining thus, you shall grow into the greater glory of your own self. Therefore, let us learn to surrender our past into His feet in love, and let us learn to remain in those sublime heights of divine awareness where the worries and joys cannot reach to cloud our vision and upset our equipoise. Be patient, be steady, strive continuously, cultivating these qualities. Success is sure, and the Upanishad Rishis assure for us the experience of the self. Towards this acme of life, hurry without haste, hasten slowly. Live in bliss, Swami Swarupananda. The article written by Paramapujya Swami Swarupananda. When does hunger cease? Hunger ceases when we feel we are full. Likewise, when will all our anxieties and sorrows cease? They will end when we feel complete. First, let us delve into the root cause of our fears and distresses. Once the cause is ascertained, we can try to be rid of them and revel in joy. The root cause is the desire in our minds. We crave all that is pleasurable under the false expectation of happiness from them. Ultimately, our desire is for permanent happiness, but we seek it in temporary, finite, and limited pleasures because we know no other way. How and when can the mind completely give up all desires? Complete contentment. In the Bhagavad Gita, while speaking about the features of an enlightened person, Bhagavan Shri Krishna states, प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितः प्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते. Partha 1. When discards all selfish desires and cravings of the senses that torment the mind and is satisfied in the self by the self, then he is said to be one of steady wisdom. Such a person has discovered their true nature to be the infinite self and is therefore living in bliss, in that total satisfaction, that total purnata, fullness. There remains no more desire. All desires are fulfilled. That in state of completeness, in that state, infinitude, a process of growth. Whereas we have about whenever we hear about vairagya, dispassion from desire, generally our mind at once resists those ideas and gives contrary arguments. Why? Because it knows no other means of fulfillment. However, those who reflect, discriminate, and gain knowledge realize that happiness is their true nature. It is not merely about giving up or discarding things. We are, as we were explaining Vairagya the other day, the tree behind me suddenly blossomed with beautiful, fragrant white flowers. We did not even notice the budding process. However, if we were to pluck the buds prematurely, expecting a ripe, juicy fruit, neither would you see the beauty of the flower nor get any fruit. Maturity is the key factor in this process. As the flower matures, the petals naturally fall off, signifying its transformation into a juicy fruit. Similarly, Vairagya is not a frightful process, it is a gross process. We evolve, we grow into fullness. As we grow into that, when naturally, that maturity, the lower just falls off. The finite, the limited, and the temporary just falls off. That craving, that desire no longer remains. There is another perspective. Renunciation is not only of external objects, beings, and situations. True renunciation is internal. It is a condition of the mind. Bhagavan Shankaracharya points out that when inner renunciation takes place and one attains the state of fulfillment, the state of infinitude, one recognizes that infinite within. Such a person sees that the Supreme alone is the substratum of the entire universe. They declare, the self in me is the very self present in everyone. They live in bliss regardless of their external circumstances, living in liberty. योगरतो वा भोगरतो वा सङ्गरतो वा सङ्गविहीनः यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तं नन्दति नन्दति नन्दत्येव. One may take delight in yoga or bhoga, one may have attachment or detachment, but only he whose mind steadily delights in Brahman enjoys bliss, no one else. This beautiful verse reminds us that the freedom experienced by a realized master is based on his inner realization of the infinite, not on external conditions. Bhagavan Shankaracharya glorifies such a person. In meditation, he may be amid sensuous pleasures, he may be in the company of people, or he may live in isolation. His mind ever revels in the infinite truth. Indeed, only he or she enjoys, only they alone revel in bliss. Nandati, Nandati, Nandatyeva. Once a person is realized, it does not matter whether he or she is in meditation, experiencing the world of plurality, or amidst a large crowd. Such a person is neither agitated or nor repelled, neither dislikes people or their noisy behavior, nor do they experience loneliness in quietude or isolation. This is because the experience of realization, the experience of being unconditioned bliss never goes away. Therefore, whether in meditation like Lord Shiva or Buddha, amid all the pleasures of the world like Janaka Maharaj, or the battlefield of life like Sri Krishna, in the company of people like Vimalananda, Swami Vivekananda, and our Gurudev, or living alone in a now the